I've talked about this a few times, and I've seen that people have somehow, um, I think, the need to sensationalize conversations. This has been a victim of that. It was They have assumed you're going to prison, so it's murder convicts.
Hmm.
People are serving time and sentence in a prison for different kinds of crimes. So it was not a prison just for murder convicts. Rikers Island, if you look up, is,
Yeah.
for the incarcerated youth. I worked with both the women cell and the men. There were two different facilities. They're high security prison. So the question of safety, you have to go through 4 rounds of metal detector checks. There are guards that walk you from each checkpoint to another before you. It takes 15 to 20 minutes to just enter that classroom. There are people outside the classroom. And I think I might have felt safer inside Rikers than I did in the
Hmm.
17 years in Delhi. Uh,
Oh, yeah,
you
absolutely.
know,
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
Using public transport, going to college from Basant Kunj, South Delhi to North Campus, and traveling back in the evening after sundown was like far scarier than being at Rikers Island. Uh, so, so as far as safety is that, and secondly, I know you set the record straight, but I feel about this murder conflict is like really bothers me. People there serving time for crimes that you and I could be, you know. The line between being in prison and outside prison is one of privilege. His father was extremely unwell at a time when we were shooting the film, absolutely unabashedly crying, you know, on set. So nice to see a man in this very toxic age of masculinity, to see and someone who has played these high octane, action heroes in his celluloid life, who have this kind of gentleness, to be so mild mannered, to be emotional, uh, and expressive, emotionally expressive, not afraid, not shy.
Right. So today with me is Tillotama Shome, whose most recent project has been Netflix's Ikka, directed by Siddharth P Malhotra, starring Sunny Deol, Akshaye Khanna, Dia Mirza, and of course her. Now, of course, how do I introduce Tillotama? I can introduce her by saying that Ikka was her recent project. We've seen her in Patal Lok, we've seen her in Delhi Crime, we've seen her in Sir. Her debut was Monsoon Wedding. She's a great actress, but no, that's not how I'm going to introduce her. This is how Tillotama Shome should be introduced. That she's a person who does not need fancy Instagram posts or fashion show runways and all those different kind of PR campaigns on Twitter, because she is a damn good actress and she is somebody who should be talked about much more than she is talked about right now. I can go on, but then Tillotama also has to have time for lunch today. So Tillotama, tell me how was it? How did you land your role in Ikka?
Uh, I got a call actually from the director who had taken my number from the lady who wrote the film. And that's how it happened. I got a call saying, and simultaneously I received a message from Althea Kaushal, who is the writer of the film, that I've given a number to the director. So I thought, okay, you get a call as an actor. Sometimes you are one of many options, and whoever I guess charges less or has dates, so so, so I wasn't really sure how serious this. Anyway, he called and he was Siddharth was just so um look, I don't get calls like this very often for films of this kind of budget and scale. Um, so I was very shocked. And but what moved me was how sincerely he wanted me to be part of this film, that he had seen my prior work. Um, he'd actually watched what I have done in the past, and was, still there was a sense of like, are you sure? Are you sure? And he's like, yes, I'm very sure that I imagine this standoff between these two kinds of actors who have been polarized in our, popular culture to
Yeah.
be in the same frame. And something about that felt good because I don't want to be part of polarized conversations. So when in a popular medium like cinema, uh, one is able to bridge these gaps, you know कि ये इस टाइप के एक्टर हैं, ये इस टाइप के एक्टर हैं, ये इस टाइप के इंसान है, ये इस थक गए हैं हम यार ये पोलराइज्ड कॉन्वर्सेशन, इंडिपेंडेंट सिनेमा, मेन स्ट्रीम सिनेमा, good people, bad people, she's a great woman, she's a terrible person. Like these are so boring, besides being offensive, that I was excited about that. I was excited that this filmmaker, actually wants to bridge a gap between these unnecessary divides, that exist. I understand somebody's famous and somebody's not. किसी की भी जर्नी कहीं से तो शुरुआत होगी ना. तो एक ऐसा वक्त होगा उनके लाइफ में जब कोई उनको जानता नहीं है, और एक ऐसा वक्त आएगा उनके लाइफ में जो शायद लोग जानते हैं उन्हें, अब वो बहुत पॉपुलर हो गए हैं, पर शुरुआत कहीं से तो होगी. पर इंसान तो दोनों है, एक्टर्स दोनों है. तो उनने जो एक एक फेक सा से वॉल खड़ा कर देते हैं लोग. आई वॉज वेरी हैप्पी दैट सिड wanted to break that wall, and that was the most exciting thing for me, I think. you know yeah.
Oh, so that means you finished your answer, right? So,
I give very long answers and I go into a tangent, and
no,
so
not at all, not at
you have
all.
to
You don't,
catch
you,
me.
no, 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 no.
You
You
stop
give
me.
good answers. There's a difference between long answers when I want to tell the celebrity that, "ठीक है, can we move on now?" and when I would want to keep listening. So you fall into the second category. But trailer launch pay, I remember you mentioning the same thing, that you were surprised that Siddharth called you up. Why were you surprised?
Um, because it's one of the first few calls I've got in Hindi medium, Angrezi medium, which are also commercial films like that in terms of budget. But I mean by budget, okay? I don't mean by OTT and theatrical, etc.
Hmm.
But I had cameos in that, and so this was a significant, uh, you know, uh, it was, he said it's a tree handler, like, it's an important part in the courtroom. So it was not an insignificant role. It was one of the main characters in the story. And so, yes, I am surprised. He is the first guy who's called me, you know, for a big film like that. I'm used to having independent filmmakers, you know. I'm used to OTT, in web series now, post Delhi Crime, getting
Yeah, yeah.
calls. Posts a lot of directors on working on OTT platforms were able to convince their the platform to cast me. They had seen my work earlier. They wanted to work with me, but the producer, the platform didn't feel that I was a viable choice. But after Sir, that changed. Uh, that the directors and the platforms were convinced. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
after Sir, mm, directors who had earlier wanted to work with me but could express that the name, they couldn't push the name through, were very relieved that because Sir allowed the platform to understand that this was a film with no stars, and and we were able to reach the audience, and the audience uh, really appreciated our film, and it was my first experience of like a pan India experience of an audience that I had never had before. And I understood why the platform's hesitation earlier, because uh, one was so unaccustomed to people in my own country watching my work, that I had taken that is how my life would be, right? Because you cannot do this for 15 years and then think something will change. You're waiting. I was okay. So I did not think that it's going to change, or that OTT platform has such power to reach so many people with one, you know, click of a button. And So I understood, अच्छा इसीलिए ये लोग मुझे पहले cast नहीं करे थे, and you need an audience and they're putting in money, etc. So after that change happened on for OTT platforms, my work started begetting more work. Uh, but there was still, of a certain kind. Uh, but I think Ikka was the first, like a out and out commercial mainstream film with big, stars. And I was not being given a role that was just furniture, you know, for decoration. So that was a change. And that I was, and I am still surprised. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, on to, your interactions and how was the experience and any learnings or basically your experience, if you could share anything about working with Siddharth, Sunny, Akshay, Diya. Siddharth, of
Um,
course, I've done he had come over to the Free Press Journal office. We had done a 1 hour long podcast with him. Great guy, great story. But yeah, over to you about sharing your experience working with them.
Um, about Sid, right from the get-go, there was so much, he really respects people, and irrespective of what their stardom is or what their perceived stardom is. And there are very few people like that. People treat people based on their position in society and, which rung of the ladder they're on. He's not like that. And honestly, um, at this point of time in my life, like earlier, it used to all be about the script being great. Now it's that I want to work with people who are good. Um, I do not necessarily want to work on a great script with a director who is, you know, has a foul temper or, like bad behavior.
You
And
mentioned this at the trailer launch. Yeah, I remember you mentioning this at the
yeah,
trailer launch. There's one
yeah,
line which I still remember. You said, I believe it was you that I can sort of sit at home for a few months right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I've been working for a while, so I have some savings, and like these are options that I have to me because I'm not a newcomer in the industry now who has to take on a job irrespective of what the environment on set is like. I don't have to do that, you know. And I'm not so smitten by the genius of any director so much that I will take their bad behavior. I'm 47 years old. I'm not a child who's going to be schooled on set. मेरे पेरेंट्स ने कभी ऐसा नहीं किया है तो मैं किसी और से तो लूंगी नहीं you know my parents like I know many friends who talk about how they got hit by their parents and it was very normal. It didn't happen in my home. So I'm not going to take that from anybody. So Sid, far from being foul-tempered, etc., was, वो सब तो था ही नहीं. But beyond that, he was somebody who had that rare capacity. I see that in my father-in-law. Whether he's talking to a CEO of a company or a young child who's 5 years old, he'll talk to them with the same honest sincerity. And that is not it's so attractive. It's something I want to be. And Sid really has that. That's about Sid. Mm. Akshay Khanna, I really didn't get to know him at all because he walked on to set in character and he stayed in that. And I know there are many actors who are, who that's their process. And I would never disturb it, and I would never come in the way. And I would never compare it favorably, unfavorably with other processes. Uh, you know, I can be doing ha ha he with, the, you know, the victim's mother was played by Jyoti and she used to sit behind me. And before any serious thing, we would be cracking jokes and all, and then action. And then, because I need that opposite.
Yes,
I
yes,
need a
exactly.
moment of levity to then switch to, um, there are times as an actor, I remember, where the scene is such, the dialogues are so complicated, or it's in a language I don't know, like whether it was Nagamese for Patal Lok or Punjabi for Kissa, where I actually need a moment of quiet. So I'm not going to judge anybody's process. And so I'm never really interacted with him, and I really also really admire, and I'm very envious of his reticence that he can afford it to keep to himself. He just does his work and then keeps to himself. Yeah, I'm almost envious of that. Uh, and Dia, again, we had no scenes at all. So it's really and she's a very gracious person, and I've known her outside of uh, this film, and it was really sad that we didn't have any work together. Um, but I've heard like she was quite the mama on set. Uh, you know, very concerned about everybody's well-being, and I can expect that from her. As far as Sunny Sir is concerned, with whom I had the bulk of my scenes, yeah, how many years he's been at this? Uh, and yet so generous. Uh, with time, we think we have earned some free pass for bad behavior or not being generous, you know, like how we were when we started out, you know. And that's I practice Buddhism, and there's a very famous Chinese saying that overturned cart in front of you is a warning for everyone behind, you know, that this can happen to you. When you see something broken, when you see an accident, it's not about, oh, I'm so lucky. It's about being less negligent, being more careful. Uh, and when I worked with him, that was the thing I took away, that uh, I really want to have this. I really want to have this after another 30 years of working, where I may keep to myself. I may be silent. I may be shy. I may be introverted, but I'm warm. You know, his silences were not something that made one uncomfortable. You could sit with him in silence in the same room and feel very comfortable. If somebody wanted to come and talk to him, they could talk to him. He would be so soft spoken. It's not like, there's some guards around him, and inaccessible, accessible, but you clearly see he's free to be himself, in the sense that I am a public person, but my nature is someone, by nature, I'm shy and I talk less. If you want to come and talk to me, you can. Um, Extremely emotional. His father was extremely unwell at a time when we were shooting the film. Absolutely unabashedly crying, you know, on set. So nice to see a man in this very toxic age of masculinity, to see, and someone who has played these high octane, action heroes in his celluloid life, who have this kind of gentleness, to be so mild mannered, um, to be emotional, uh, and expressive, emotionally expressive, not afraid, not shy, you know. Um, of These are really admirable. And I've said this many times before, but when it was my close up, and I have heard big actors don't stay for, actors के close ups के लिए. Uh, and I didn't know which, you know, हर एक बंदा अलग होता है. So, but I'd heard all these things. कभी I have not experienced it. क्योंकि when the biggest actor like Star was in fun, वो तो हमेशा थे, उनको तो जितना हम काम करे तो उनको भी उतना ही काम करना पड़ा था. Like अनूप के फिल्म में तो कोई छूट नहीं थी. तो uh, but he was there, yeah, he was there for everything firstly, but we went over and beyond, because there was a scene where there was a fly sitting on his, many flies ऐसे like they were भंडरा रहे थे ऐसे, और फिर एक जाके यहाँ बैठा. तो मुझे लगा अभी तो कट बोलेंगे, तो आई वाज स्टिल सेइंग माय लाइंस, बट आई वाज अभी कट बोलेंगे, पर कुछ नहीं. ये मक्खी यहाँ से यहाँ से यहाँ से यहाँ से यहाँ तक पहुंच गया भाई. मैं जिस रफ्तार से अपने डायलॉग्स बोल रही थी कि खत्म करो इसे, मुझे मुझे परेशानी हो रही है ये देख के कि मेरे को एक्टर इतने तकलीफ में है, और ये मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्योंकि डायरेक्टर देख नहीं पा रहे हैं क्योंकि कैमरा मेरे पे है। मैं इतना जल्दी खत्म करके निकली सीन से, एंड देन आई कम बैक आफ्टर कटिंग से, सर आप क्या सोच रहे थे, आप क्यों, व्हाई डिडंट यू कॉल कट? ही से नहीं, बहुत अच्छा टेक चल रहा था आपका। आज लाइक हद हो गई यार। आई लाइक सर आप मेरे से ये एक्सपेक्ट मत कीजिए कि मक्खी मेरे आंख तक पहुंच गई है और मैं, आई वाज लाइक आप हैं एक्शन हीरो। अब पर ये कहानी एक एक्शन हीरो के लिए मक्खी और इंसान, मतलब ये इट्स नॉट अ वेरी पोएटिक स्टोरी, but I was like, this is unreal. I I also don't think I'll be able to show this courtesy to a fellow actor. You know? So yeah, these things stick. These things stick larger than what they say in public, what they do. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the Makki was just so happy to have an up close moment with Sunny Deol that even the Makki wasn't letting go. But
Yeah.
I think that is
So,
one thing probably which is common between both of us, and one of my friends had actually mentioned it between you and me that both of us practice Buddhism.
okay.
Nichiren Daishonin is
Yes,
Buddhism, right? Yes,
yes,
yes, yes. I've
yes,
been
yes,
practicing it for over 20 years now. So yeah,
yes,
quite a
yes.
long time.
Yeah, yeah.
You started practicing it when? Like how long back?
It's been 30 years now. I
Oh
was
wow, more than
17 when
me.
I started. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's the backbone of my life, the choices I have made in my, as an actor, um, and which was really the basis of uh, everything. Uh, and yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. We will probably have a lengthier discussion on that on a different day. But I also read about the fact that uh, in New York, you were teaching drama to murder convicts. Weren't you scared about your own life?
So, I've talked about this a few times and I've seen that people have somehow, um, I think, the need to sensationalize conversations. This has been a victim of that. They have assumed you're going to prison, so it's murder convicts. People
Hmm.
are serving time and sentence in a prison for different kinds of crimes. So it was not a prison just for murder convicts. Rikers Island, if you look up, is,
Yeah.
for the incarcerated youth. I worked with both the women cell and the men. There were two different facilities. They're high security prison. So the question of safety, you have to go through 4 rounds of metal detector checks. There are guards that walk you from each checkpoint to another before you. It takes 15 to 20 minutes to just enter that classroom. There are people outside the classroom. And I think I might have felt safer inside Rikers than I did in the
Hmm.
17 years in Delhi. Uh,
Oh, yeah,
you
absolutely.
know,
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
Using public transport, going to college from Basant Kunj, South Delhi to North Campus, and traveling back in the evening after sundown was like far scarier than being at Rikers Island. Uh, so, so as far as safety is that, and secondly, I know you set the record straight, but I feel about this murder conflict is like really bothers me. People there serving time for crimes that you and I could be. You know, the line between being in prison and outside prison is one of privilege, uh,
Yeah.
and the kind of social security. And I don't mean social security that will bust in America. I mean the kind
Hmm.
of social blanket, like having family that is supportive, or if you don't have family that's supportive, having a social structure of friends, acquaintances, work colleagues who can stand by you when you hit that darkness in your life, which we all do, and or when nothing you try is materializing, and your hunger, drives you to do something, or you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you were caught in a snuffle, or the act of violence that put you in prison was because you were in postpartum and hungry and there was a wailing child and there was a sudden touch which came from nowhere, and in defense you did this, and and you don't have the best lawyer to represent you in court. So these are the stories. These are the like this is one of the many stories, uh, that of the people that I met there. And then you think that, my God, when I hear that, when I see those case files, I understand that, my God, it could have happened to any of us. So people who are in prison are not people who are bad. People who are outside it are people who are good. So that was a huge learning for me, being at Rikers. And I am so glad, because of Daisaku Ikeda's work and writings. And he had said to students in going to university that, may you always ask yourself this question: for what purpose do you cultivate knowledge? Like, if it does not serve those who can't afford an education, I mean, what is the point of going to college? You know, and I remember as a 17-year-old that those words really had an impact on me. Even though I'd done monsoon wedding and I was beginning to get calls from Bombay, I really felt there was something so significant in what he had said, that I wanted to go and study. Because drama was therapeutic for me, it helped me overcome my stammer. I wanted to go and study this drama therapy formally so that I could use it to, uh, you know, uh, to be of some kind of service to a situation that is already so rigged, you know. And so, like, Rikers for me was not just a promise I kept to, my mentor, but it was also the result and gift of keeping the promise. Was it actually became really the acting school I never went to, because I got to observe human behavior so closely, and the grayness of human existence, between black and white, between right and wrong, between sanity and insanity, between forgiveness and guilt, these in between spaces that are so interesting, in a performance, which are fictional, but when you see it in real life, mm, it it's it's a privilege. It's very transformative. Yeah, it's like um, you know, uh, and it after doing it for a year and a half, I was burnt out. I was
Mm.
burnt out because
An intense experience, obviously, very intense.
it is a very intense experience, and
Just to clarify one thing, the reason why I mentioned murder convict was because now see that's why the internet is such a dangerous place, right? While doing my research, I came across two places. I was like, okay, is it only murder convicts? Is it something? Because the prison, like you said, has everything, and then it said murder, so that's why I sort of mentioned it. But
no.
but I get your point. It's like yeah.
No, and I keep it comes
Mm.
up, and every time I clarify it. So,
Yeah. It's going to come up
yeah.
again in the next 1 month in your next interview with somebody else, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably.
But the
Yeah.
reason for me it's important is because, we use the word murder so lightly, and they are yet waiting trial. A lot of them, are not going to get fair representation. So to already say they're murderers is very offensive to me, and many people, many institutions have murdered their rights to their basic human rights, before they did the thing that took them to prison. Uh, it's a very complex situation.
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, there are those documentaries which are I don't know on which platform, but about the conviction of a lot of people who are tried and they have to go to jail. I mean, just talking about the US, of course, is there in India also, and it doesn't matter whether they're innocent or not. Every third day, you read about in the paper about a person who's been freed after 30 years, 35 years, 25 years, and it is proved that he was innocent. So he spent 25 years I mean, it's crazy to even think about it, that an innocent person has spent so much time in jail.
Yeah. Even a guilty person, that's the thing that I thought my idea also of justice was so black and white. Uh, just how we have grown up, and
Yeah.
and Delhi, you have the sense of anger as a woman growing up, and you want these men to be, like put away, and so much anger. So when I came to America, like like any man who would walk past me, I would think they were going to attack me, but they weren't. So I had to unlearn and begin to trust again. But when I walked into that prison system, again, things became so muddy for me. Things that I was so sure about became so unsure. That even those who are like have committed the crime that they're accused of. Um, you look at their medical files. You look at their early childhood, what drugs they were put on, the side effect of those drugs for ADHD, for bad behavior in school. Those drugs, when they reach the puberty, have serious side effects. You know, and those side effects can lead to these access. So who's responsible? Those who administered those medicines to them, or just acting out in class? It was very complicated, with the point of it feeling like rehabilitative justice, restorative justice are conversations we need to have more. Institutions need to have more, despite being angered, triggered as a woman when I read every day acts of crime and sexual assault. Um, uh, After having worked at Rikers, I know that the solution to that is just not, you know, it is we have to really look at justice, and restorative justice so that we can, and I think Rikers really raised that question for me, and how. And it changed everything. It changed everything for me also as a human being and as an actor. Like I came back to Bombay after that and started acting again. Um, and then I knew, like, in any scene that I play out as a character, I know that the 10 other options. This thing can be played 10 different ways, minimum. You know? Yeah.
On that slightly intense and heavy note, that was really my last
Yes.
question. But all I'd
Sorry.
like to say is this is exactly why Tillotama Shome needs to be interviewed more, not badgered, because
No,
then
no, no.
with the celebrities, what happens is nowadays with so many outlets, there are so many interviews you're giving and ask the same questions again and again. But this is why I feel you should definitely have more outlets to voice your views, because your life experience, the way you talk about it, there are a lot of things which other people can also learn. But
I would
okay,
honestly like to
she's got
talk
thoughts
less
about
and
that,
work.
and she's going to reply to me. Tell me, yeah.
I want to talk less and work more.
Hmm.
I don't want to be taken. I know it sounded really intense right now, this conversation, because it's about Rikers. You brought it up, and I think to be frivolous about it would be very in bad taste. But
Yeah.
I would like to do work which is not so intense necessarily. I think comedy
Sure.
and satire is perhaps what we need now, and I'd like to do more of that. That not just play intense characters, because it's just very boring to do the same thing again and again. On that
Right.
note,
So on that note, fair enough. On that second note, second take, whatever you want to call it, we'll probably be watching Tilotama in more satire or comedy later on. But Tilotama, thank you so much for taking our time for us. I thought this was going to be a 10-minute interview. It's turned out to be a 32-minute brilliant interview. Thank you so much, and all the best for the
thank you.
future.
Thank you to you too.
Thank you. Take care.